The first material I like to set up is a really just basic matte gray material, and this is one we've already created. It should be 80% diffuse, and the diffuse color should be 0.5, and then conserve energy should be enabled, even though it doesn't matter. Specular amount 0, Fresnel 0. Make sure to match specular for the reflection, and turn on blurry reflections with at least 128 rays. That way you've got a really basic material that's really quick to edit. So now that I have this material, I can right-click that and say Save Preset. And I can save that wherever I want. I'm going to save that in my Materials Base folder, and I'm going to save it as Base 00 Matte, and hit Save. Now, when I do that, it's going to give me a black icon for that material, and we need to create the icon for it. No problem, super simple. Since we're using this basic scene anyway, we can just go Render, Render. It's going to do a quick render of that for us. We can close that up, right-click, and replace icon with last render. It is that easy, just like that. Now, to create the other base materials, essentially what I'll do is add a little bit of reflectivity and then just vary, for the most part, the roughness value. So for example, for this satin material, I might set the specular amount up to, I don't know, 5%, and the Fresnel up to, say, 15. And then the roughness, that's where I'm going to control this. Let's set that up to 80%, so it's really nice and rough. Now we do have some reflected light happening here. It's just extremely rough. Now you can see from my previous tweaking that that looks a little bit sharper than that. So maybe I'll try 50% on the roughness, so it's not quite so severe, and then crank up the spec amount to maybe 10 and 20. That's looking a little bit more like the base satin material that I like to use. So we'll call that our satin material. Let's right-click, Save Preset. I'll save that as my base 01 satin and hit Save. Yep, it's going to remove the icon, render, render, and then with the result, I can close it up, right-click, replace icon with last render, and we're all set. Now you can imagine going through and varying these properties. Just vary the specular amount and the Fresnel, as well as the roughness, to get various different base materials to play with. Just make sure that when you're saving this out that you always set your bump amplitude to 1 millimeter. I forgot to do that in this case, so I'm going to set that to 1 millimeter. Then go back here. Save that one more time in the same place, and then right-click and replace icon with last render. That way, whenever I use this material, I'll know that my bump textures and all that stuff will be compatible with these materials. Try to keep that in mind as you're saving them out. Okay, have fun.